How can you pick a target CPA for your Google Ads lead generation marketing campaign? I'm going to address that in this video. What I'll say is choosing a target CPA or tCPA in Google Ads is really about balancing cost efficiency with lead volume. And there's a couple ways to go about it. I'm going to talk about how to do it if you have historical data, and then I'm going to talk about how to do it if you don't have any historical data. But before I dive in, I wanted to just talk about target CPA bidding. I don't want anyone here to be super scared of target CPA bidding. In fact, target CPA bidding is one of my favorite bid strategies. I love it because it's an automated, smart bidding strategy that allows us to set bids to get as many conversions as possible given a constraint of a target CPA goal. So basically what you can do is you can just say, Google, here's my target CPA goal, don't exceed it or try to stay within this range. Can Google always hit your target CPA goal? No. And I want to set that expectation for you too, because if you have a very unrealistic expectation, what's going to happen is you might have a target, let's say, target CPA goal of a penny, but your average cost per click is $10. There's no way that the math is going to math on that one. You're just not going to be able to be competitive enough, and your campaign's just going to choke because you're not giving a reasonable target cost per acquisition goal. So how do we set reasonable target cost per acquisition goals? Let's start with the first method, and that is to look at your historical cost per acquisition. Cost per acquisition is interchangeable here with cost per lead. I'm going to open up an old ad account. Let's just assume that what you're seeing up here is 90 days worth of data. You want to use 90 days worth of data. If you only have 30 days, then go ahead and use that. 30 to 90 days is good. I would say 90 days is better because that gives you a lot of data to work off of. But let's just assume that this is 90 days here. Within your ad account, you want to pull in your cost per conversion column, and you want to see, let's just assume this is 90 days. You want to use these numbers as starting points, and you can only set a target cost per acquisition per campaign. You can't set it across, ad groups. It has to be per campaign here. My recommendation is usually to start with the average cost per conversion or cost per acquisition over a 90-day period, because you want to use numbers that are already achievable with Google. You don't want to just see this number and then cut it in half, because that is not achievable, has not been achieved yet. So you want to look at historical numbers and use this as a starting point. Sometimes when you're looking to set a target CPA goal, Google will make recommendations based off of historical data, and it will usually be higher than here because Google will try to give it a little bit more breathing room. If the target cost per acquisition is higher, then the bids can be higher when you're using an automated bid strategy. But usually when you're setting a target cost per acquisition goal, Google will give suggestions, and then you can use theirs. Usually I found Google's suggestions to be pretty good because it does look at historical data, but it does tend to inflate it because it doesn't want to start too low. So if you want to just go with what you've been able to achieve before, then do it. If not, then you can use what Google suggests. So you would just need to go to your campaigns, and let's just assume that you want to set a target cost per acquisition for this campaign. I'm just coming up with something here. I'm going to edit settings. Bidding. We're going to change this, assuming that you want to change to a target CPA and you want to lock in, quote unquote, lock in a target CPA. Let's give it some time. Maximize conversions. Target, and then you would set a target cost per acquisition. So target CPA is part of maximize conversions. Sometimes Google will give you suggestions, sometimes not. It's most likely that because this campaign's been off for years, it hasn't been able to, it's not able to give me something. So I'm just going to go with target cost per acquisition. However, if you don't have any historical data or your campaign's been off for some time, and you want to go about doing this in a way that doesn't use any historical history or historical data, you would use this formula here. Your target CPA would be the value of a lead to you multiplied by close rate multiplied by margin. So the value of the lead and the margin, these are already fixed numbers that you should already know. If you don't have these numbers, you need to go dig them up. But get these numbers and then also get your close rate. What I always tell clients is whatever your close rate you think it is, you probably want to cut that down in half because sometimes clients tend to overestimate. So put a conservative close rate there. So here's an example. Let's say you earn $1,000 per closed deal and you close 10% of your PPC leads. So each lead is worth $100 to you. With a 50% margin, your target CPA would be this to start out. $50. My best tip to you would be to start conservative and then adjust. So even if you, let's say, are really only okay with a $50 cost per acquisition, set it at $100 and let Google collect data, and then you can continue to try to get as low as possible without sacrificing your conversion volume. Because what's going to happen is if you set this too low at, let's say, $10, your campaign's just not going to spend, and you're going to be wondering why you only got like one impression. It's because you're not letting Google have enough breathing room to go out and get you target leads at a reasonable cost per lead. $10 is not reasonable. So that's what I have for you on your target cost per acquisition. If you do use a target cost per acquisition bid strategy and you want to control your cost per clicks, you can actually go and use a portfolio bid strategy. By going to maximize conversions, target cost per acquisition, set a target cost per acquisition, use a portfolio bid strategy, set a name for it. I'm just going to call this a test, save, go back to the campaign that you wanted to do the bid strategy on, portfolio, settings, and then advanced options. Then you can set a bid limit saying, Google, don't spend more than $15 per click. And then to look at your historical cost per clicks. You can't reasonably say, Google, I only want clicks for a dollar if you've historically been spending $15 per click. That's just going to choke your campaign too. So when you're using target cost per acquisition, just know that if you get too aggressive with it, it's just not going to spend, because it's just like, well, these are very unrealistic expectations, and it's not going to tell you why. You're just going to log into your account and realize that Google's not spending. And if it's a brand new account, I recommend to not use target CPA to start. Usually maximize conversions, manual CPC, maximize clicks first. And then once you get conversion data, then you can start trying to dial things in and lock in a target cost per acquisition goal with Google. I have seen target cost per acquisition work from the get-go without having historical data, just given the example that I shared with you and how to go about calculating that. But there's going to be trial and error too, because you need to figure out, is this too high? Is this too low of a target CPA? Do I need to lift my constraint on Google? So keep those things in mind as you go about setting your target cost per acquisition. Make sure that your conversion tracking is clean before switching to target CPA. Avoid switching to target CPA too early. Like I said, I recommend letting your campaigns run on maximize conversions or maximize clicks or manual to gather baseline data. But I have seen it work, from the get-go with target CPA. Reevaluate your target CPA every month or so as the performance shifts. So what do you think of this video? What's your best tip on target CPA? If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. I post videos every week about Google Ads, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.